ý sử dụng trước khi dùng. Video phù hợp để nghe lúc ăn cơm, rửa chén, quét nhà, lau sàn, nấu cơm, chuẩn bị đi ngủ, hoặc nghe như podcast để chữa rách những vết thương IELTS chưa lành. Đừng quên nhấn vào đường link bên dưới phần mô tả để ôn lại từ vựng hay nhé. Chúc các bạn đạt kết quả thi tốt nhất.
Describe a shop or store you often go to. You should say where it is, what type of people go there, what types of goods are sold there, and explain why you go there and dislike most about it.
One spot I often end up shopping at is the Uniqlo store in the Vincom Center, right on Pham Ngoc Thach Street here in Hanoi. It's a popular spot, attracting a wide variety of people, from young professionals searching for office-appropriate attire to students looking for comfy casual wear and families on the lookout for affordable fashion for everyone. So, Uniqlo is primarily a clothing store, but the range of items you can find there is impressive. They've got everything from everyday basics like t-shirts and jeans to more formal options, such as business suits and elegant dresses. I find myself heading there quite often for a few reasons. The quality of the clothing is excellent considering the price point. The materials are durable and the designs are tasteful, often incorporating both classic and contemporary elements. Another thing I really appreciate is the store's layout. It's extremely well organized. Clothes are sorted by type, style, and size, which makes shopping straightforward and stress-free. What draws me most to this Uniqlo store, though, is how well they keep up with fashion trends. Every time I drop by, there's something new that's just right on point with current fashion, making it a breeze to keep my wardrobe up to date. But I've got to admit, the biggest drawback is how packed it can get, especially on weekends or during sales. The place becomes bustling with shoppers, and this can make your shopping trip feel a bit rushed and overwhelming at times. Despite the occasional crowds, Uniqlo at Vincom Center remains my top choice for shopping. It offers a perfect blend of quality, style, and value, ensuring I come out with something I love every single time.
Describe a city you would like to live in. You should say where it is. How do you know it? What is it famous for? And why would you like to live there?
The city I'd really love to live in is Tokyo, Japan. I first got hooked on it through anime and travel shows, and the more I learned, the more I wanted to go. Tokyo's famous for this amazing mix of super modern stuff, like robots and neon-lit skyscrapers. And then you have these peaceful temples and gardens right in the middle of the city hustle. So, why Tokyo? Well, for starters, it's a paradise for tech enthusiasts. They're always a step ahead with innovations like bullet trains and cutting-edge gadgets, which is perfect for me since I'm a huge tech geek. But Tokyo isn't all about technology. The culinary scene is equally fantastic. From sushi bars and ramen joints to vibrant street food, the city offers a wide range of eating experiences that ensure every meal is an adventure. Living there would be amazing because Tokyo is bursting with energy. There's always something to do, places to explore, events happening. Also, people here are super polite, and everything runs on time. Imagine hopping on a train and everything's on schedule. That'd be a big change from where I'm at now, dealing with daily traffic jams. The transportation in Tokyo is another huge plus. It's so efficient and getting around is a breeze without needing a car. I think that's brilliant as I just hate driving, and the idea of just zipping around the city stress-free sounds perfect. In essence, Tokyo's got this perfect balance. It's fast-paced yet orderly, it's cutting-edge, but still holds onto its traditions. That balance of old and new, plus the tech and food scenes, not to mention how smooth getting around would be. All of that makes me think I'd have a really balanced life there. Honestly, I can't think of a better place to call home.
Describe a time when someone gave you something that you really wanted. You should say, who gave it to you? What was the thing? When you received it? Why you needed it? And explain how you felt about it.
I'd love to share about a time when my sister surprised me with a book I had been eyeing for quite some time. The book is called Atomic Habits by James Clear. To give a bit of context, I've always been passionate about self-improvement and personal development. And I'd been hearing rave reviews about atomic habits from friends and online. But for some reason, I hadn't gotten around to purchasing it. My sister, who always knows me inside out, noticed this and decided to gift it to me. I received the book on the morning of my birthday during breakfast. My sister handed me a neatly wrapped package, and as soon as I tore off the wrapping paper and saw the cover, I was thrilled. It was like she had read my mind and knew exactly what I wanted. The reason I needed this book was because I was feeling a bit stuck in my routine and was searching for some meaningful changes. I had read that Atomic Habits offers practical advice on how to build good habits and break bad ones, which was exactly what I needed at the time. When I started reading it, I was immediately hooked. The book's insights and strategies were incredibly practical and easy to implement. It made me feel hopeful and energized about improving my life. In the end, I was really grateful to my sister for such a thoughtful gift. It wasn't just about receiving a book. You know, it was about the fact that she pays attention to my interests and gives me the push I needed to start making changes in my life. That book has since had a lasting impact on my life, and I often recommend it to others who are seeking to make positive transformations.
Describe a piece of good advice that you gave to someone. You should say to whom you gave the advice, what the advice was, why you gave the advice, and what the result was, how he or she followed your advice.
A while back, one of my close friends was really upset after not passing her chemistry exam, which was a huge shock to her, to be honest. At that point, I felt it was important to step in and offer some guidance. So there we were, sitting in the cafeteria, and she was almost in tears. I just felt like I had to say something. And I told her, "Look, maybe it's time to switch up your study tactics. How about we try looking at the material in a different way? Instead of cramming everything the night before, let's break it down into chunks and tackle it piece by piece." The reason I gave this advice was because I had faced a similar situation in my own studies before. I found that changing my approach made a real difference, and I hoped it would for her too. And it really did. She actually took my advice to heart and started organizing her study sessions more effectively. We also joined a study group together to get different perspectives and support on the tough topics. It wasn't easy at first, but she stuck with it. When she sat for the resit a few weeks later, not only did she pass, but she actually aced it, which was amazing to see. Seeing her succeed like that was incredibly rewarding. It was a reminder of how sometimes a small change in approach can lead to big improvements.
Describe a good decision someone you know just made recently. You should say what the decision was, when and where he or she made this decision, what happened as a result of this decision, and explain why you think this was a good decision to make.
Actually, I have a friend who recently made a really sensible choice, and it has had quite a positive impact on her life. She used to work as a customer service officer at a local bank, a job she held for nearly 4 years. But just last month, she decided it was time for a change and resigned from her position. You know, working in customer service, especially in a bank, can be incredibly demanding. She was often dealing with stressed customers and tight deadlines, which was really taking a toll on her. Every day, she'd come home drained, hardly having the time or energy to enjoy her personal life or pursue any of her hobbies. So, after much thought and several discussions with friends and family, she decided to step away from that role. And honestly, the difference it has made is like night and day. Since leaving her job, she's been able to focus more on herself. She started taking online courses in digital marketing, a field she's always been interested in. And she's also had more time to reconnect with her family and friends. What makes me think this was a wise choice is the sheer improvement in her well-being. Before, I could see the stress was overwhelming her. Now, she seems much happier and more energetic. It's clear she's now on a path that feels right for her, pursuing a career that aligns more with her passions and which offers a better work-life balance. It's really inspiring, actually, to see someone take a leap like that, especially when they're leaving behind the security of a familiar job. But seeing how much happier she is now, it's obvious that embracing this change was the right move for her. It's a good reminder that sometimes stepping out of our comfort zone is exactly what we need to do to move forward in life.
Describe a place you have visited that is affected by air pollution. You should say where you have been to, why it is serious, what kind of pollution there was, and explain how you felt about the pollution in this place.
A couple of years ago, I visited a garbage landfill in District 7 in Ho Chi Minh City, and this spot is heavily impacted by air contamination due to the immense volume of waste gathered there. The main pollutants were methane and other noxious gases, which are typical byproducts of decomposing organic material. The smell was absolutely overwhelming, and the haze from the pollution could be seen hovering over the area. From what I see, the problem stems largely from the site being overloaded with waste beyond its intended capacity. This causes insufficient waste management and control of emissions. Moreover, the landfill is located near residential areas, compounding the effects on local residents. So, the air quality is not just poor at the site itself, but also affects the broader community living nearby. On a personal level, visiting this place was quite an eye-opener for me. It was disheartening to see the direct impact of our societal habits regarding waste. The experience was a bit of a wake-up call on the urgent need for sustainable waste management practices. It made me more conscious of my environmental footprint and pushed me to think about how I manage my own waste. Also, it was upsetting to witness the community's living conditions around the landfill, knowing their daily lives are marred by such pollution. All in all, the visit to the landfill in District 7 left a lasting impression on me. It highlighted the critical environmental issues we face and the importance of addressing them sooner rather than later.
Describe something you own that you want to replace. You should say what it is, where it is, how you got it, and explain why you want to replace it.
All right, so today I'm going to talk about something I have that I'm really looking to upgrade. It's my old iPhone 6. To be honest, it's seen better days. It's currently sitting on my desk at home, just hanging on for dear life. I got this phone, well, it must be about 6 years ago now. It was a birthday gift from my parents. Back then, it was all the rage, you know, having the latest iPhone. I was over the moon when I received it, and it's been my trusty sidekick ever since. However, nowadays, it's pretty much on its last legs. For one thing, the battery drains ridiculously fast. I mean, I charge it fully, and within a couple of hours, it's almost dead. Not only that, but the screen is cracked in several places because, well, I'm a bit clumsy and have dropped it more times than I can count. It's incredibly sluggish as well, to the point where opening apps, browsing the internet, and even sending messages take forever. The main reason I want to get rid of it, though, is because I rely on my phone for pretty much everything. From staying in touch with family and friends to managing my work emails and even my banking. With this phone being so unreliable, I think it's becoming more of a hindrance than a help. Plus, I've heard so many great things about the new models, with their incredible cameras and features designed to, you know, simplify daily tasks and enhance overall user experience. So yeah, while my iPhone 6 has served me well, it's high time for an upgrade to something more capable and efficient.
Describe a person you have met who you want to work or study with. You should say who this person is, how you met this person, how long you have known him or her, and explain why you want to work or study with him or her.
One person I'd really love to collaborate with is my classmate, Min. We got to know each other in a digital transformation class that's part of our business administration major at college. It's been around a year since we first crossed paths, and we've worked on several group projects together since then. The first time I encountered Min was in a team meeting for our class project. Initially, I was impressed by her presentation skills and her ability to articulate complex ideas in a simple manner. Over time, I've come to appreciate her even more for her problem-solving skills and her knack for innovative thinking. And why do I want to work with her in the future? Well, for one, she's incredibly proactive. She always takes the initiative, whether it's dividing up tasks or suggesting new approaches to solve a problem. Also, Min has a great sense of teamwork. She listens to everyone's ideas, gives constructive feedback, and is always willing to lend a hand if a team member is struggling. Moreover, her expertise in digital transformation is something I deeply admire. She stays updated with the latest trends and technologies, and she's not afraid to experiment with new tools and methods. This has been incredibly inspiring for me and has pushed me to expand my own knowledge and skills in this area. I believe that working with her in the future would be a fantastic opportunity to learn and grow, both professionally and personally.
Describe a restaurant that you enjoyed going to. You should say where the restaurant was, why you chose this restaurant, what type of food you ate in this restaurant, and explain why you enjoyed eating in this restaurant.
One spot that stands out when I think of great dining experiences is Doki, a Korean restaurant nestled in Vanhan Mall, right in the heart of District 10, Ho Chi Minh City. This place caught my attention primarily because of its unique offering of an all-you-can-eat buffet that features tteokbokki and hot pot for an unbeatable price of just 139,000 Vietnamese dong. So, what drew me to Doki initially was its value for money, considering you can indulge in unlimited servings of tteokbokki, those delightful Korean rice cakes simmered in a spicy, sweet sauce, and a variety of hot pot ingredients. The first time I went, I was with a group of friends who, like me, are always keen to explore different cuisines without breaking the bank. At Doki, the array of choices was impressive. They offered different types of tteokbokki sauces, ranging from the traditional spicy gochujang to a milder soy garlic, catering to various taste preferences. Alongside, the hot pot included everything from fresh vegetables and mushrooms to a variety of meats and seafood. The thrill of tossing everything into the bubbling broth and waiting for it to cook was just part of the fun. What made the experience genuinely enjoyable was more than just the food. It was the vibrant, bustling atmosphere of the place, combined with the warm, prompt service. Eating there felt like a celebration, with the sizzle of the hot pot and the rich aromas filling the air. Plus, the opportunity to customize each dish exactly to your liking, from mildly tangy to intensely fiery, made every bite a delight. I think eating at Doki was not only about savoring the food, but also about the joy of sharing those flavors with friends, making it a memorable culinary adventure every time we went.
Describe a place where you thought things were too expensive. You should say what the place is like, why you went there, why things are expensive there, and explain how you feel about the place.
Well, Starbucks at Saigon Center, a fancy shopping mall in the heart of Ho Chi Minh City, is a place where I found the prices surprisingly high compared to what you get, and especially compared to local Vietnamese coffee shops. So Saigon Center itself is a pretty upscale place. It's got loads of high-end shops and trendy boutiques, and everything about it just screams luxury. I went there with a friend because we wanted to treat ourselves to a nice coffee after a long day of shopping and exploring the city. We thought, hey, why not go to Starbucks? It's a famous spot, and we know the coffee is decent. Or at least that's what the food reviewers and influencers on TikTok said. When we got there, the place was packed with people, mostly tourists and expats, which wasn't surprising considering the location. But when I looked at the menu, I was shocked. The prices were way higher than what I was used to paying at local coffee shops. A simple cup of coffee costs almost double the price of a Vietnamese coffee, and it felt like a bit of a ripoff. I guess the reason for the steep prices is the prime location. You know, Saigon Center is a prestigious mall, and rent there must be sky high. Plus, they probably hike up the prices knowing that a lot of tourists are willing to pay more for a familiar brand in a foreign city. Honestly, it made me feel a bit annoyed. I mean, I get that you're paying for the brand and the convenience, but it still felt like they were taking advantage of the customers. On the other hand, the ambiance was nice, and it was a good spot to sit and relax. But yeah, still, I think next time I'll look for a local coffee shop with more reasonable prices and maybe even better coffee.
Describe a job you would not like to do in the future. You should say what the job is, how you know about this job, how easy or difficult the job is, and explain why you would not like to do this job.
One profession I would prefer to avoid in the future is being a nurse. Now, I know nursing is a really important job, and I have a lot of respect for nurses. They play such a crucial role in healthcare, but it's just not the right fit for me. I know quite a bit about this profession because my cousin is a nurse. She often shares her experiences with me, and while she finds it fulfilling, it's evident that it's a very demanding job. It's clear that not only do nurses need extensive medical knowledge, but they also have to be incredibly compassionate and patient. They face a lot of stress, especially when dealing with critical medical emergencies. Additionally, their schedules are quite hectic, including night shifts, weekends, and holidays, which I'm convinced must be extremely draining. The main reason I wouldn't want to pursue nursing is that I'm not comfortable with blood and medical procedures. Just thinking about giving injections or treating wounds makes me feel uneasy. I also value having a regular schedule and maintaining a good work-life balance. And the unpredictable hours that come with nursing wouldn't work for me at all. Again, I deeply respect the dedication and hard work of nurses, and I admire those who can do it and excel in it, but it's definitely not the career path for me.
Describe a sport that you only have watched before but had not played by yourself. You should say what it is, when you watched it, where you watched it, who you watched it with, and explain how you felt about it.
Basketball is a sport I've often enjoyed watching, but never actually played myself. The first time I really got into watching it was during the NBA Finals a few years back. It was around mid-June, and the games were broadcast live on TV. I remember watching it at home in our living room. My brother, who's quite the basketball enthusiast, invited me to watch the final game with him. He thought it would be more exciting to have someone else to share the experience with, and he wasn't wrong at all. We had some snacks ready and were both geared up in front of the television, excited to see the outcome. The energy of the game was electric. There's something about the pace of basketball. It's really fast-moving, and the players are incredibly skilled, doing all these impressive dribbles and jumps. And even though you're watching through a screen, the atmosphere pulls you right in. The crowd's going wild, the buzzer sounds, players are hustling. It's almost like you can feel the energy buzzing through the air. Honestly, I felt quite thrilled watching it. Even though I wasn't playing, the constant lead changes and tight scores kept me on the edge of my seat. It's a dynamic game, and you can't help but feel a part of the action. That night, I really got why people are so passionate about basketball. I learned a lot about the game, like the rules and some strategies, which made it even more interesting. So yeah, watching basketball turned out to be really engaging, and it was great bonding time with my brother too.
Describe a special meal that someone made for you. You should say, who did it? When and how did he/she cook? What and why did he/she cook? Explain how you felt about the meal.
A couple of summers ago, I had the pleasure of visiting my grandmother, who lives in a different province, for a few weeks during my holiday break. It was a refreshing change of pace from my usual routine, And one particular day stands out because of a meal she prepared just for me. Now, my grandma has always been an incredible cook, but that day, she decided to make her special chicken stew. I remember it was a sunny afternoon. She spent hours in the kitchen, chopping up fresh vegetables and simmering the chicken until it was perfectly tender. She told me she chose this dish because it was my grandfather's favorite, and she thought I might love it just as much. The aroma filled the whole house, and by the time we sat down to eat, I was incredibly excited to try it. The stew had a rich, comforting flavor that was both familiar and unique at the same time. There was something about the way the herbs mingled with the chicken that made it unforgettable. As we ate, she shared stories about her childhood and my grandfather's antics, which made the meal even more special. It wasn't just about the food, you know. It was the warmth and love that came with it. I felt really cherished and connected to my family's history through that meal. Reflecting on that day, I can say it was one of those perfect moments where everything just felt right. The food was amazing, but the feelings of being loved and connected to my roots were what truly made it special.
Describe a time you had to finish something quickly. You should say what it was, when it happened, how you finished it, why you had to finish it quickly, and explain how you felt about it.
Oh, there was this one time during my university days that really sticks out in my memory. It was for an English literature class where I had to complete an essay and submit it by the end of the day. This happened during my final year. It was quite a stressful period with lots of deadlines close together. So the essay was about Shakespeare's influence on modern drama, and I had been putting it off due to other assignments and exams. Suddenly, I realized the submission deadline was the very same day, so I had no choice but to buckle down and get it done as soon as possible. To finish it on time, I isolated myself in a quiet part of the library with all my notes and books spread out around me. I focused intensely, writing almost non-stop, only taking brief breaks to grab a coffee or stretch my legs. I managed to pull together my thoughts and arguments into a coherent essay, tapping away on my laptop until the very last minute. I guess the rush was because I'd mismanaged my time slightly, juggling too many tasks at once. Plus, I didn't want to impact my grade negatively with a late submission. The pressure was definitely on, and while I was writing, I felt a mix of adrenaline and a bit of panic. I kept telling myself just to keep going, that I could make it if I didn't get distracted. After I submitted the essay, there was a huge sense of relief, but also a bit of annoyance at myself for letting it get to that point. It was a real roller coaster of emotions, stressful at the time, but it taught me a valuable lesson about managing my time better. Honestly, I felt proud to have completed it under such pressure, but knew I wouldn't want to go through that rush again.
Describe a website you often visit. You should say what it is about, how you found out about it, how often you visit it, and explain why you often visit it.
The website I frequently browse is YouTube, an all-encompassing platform where people can watch videos on literally anything. Initially, my friends introduced me to it many years back, and ever since, it's been a staple in my daily routine. Now I find myself hopping onto YouTube several times a day, often during breaks between studying or right before bed. I mainly use it for two things: chilling out and studying. For fun, I love watching music videos, catching up on game streams, or watching movie recaps. It's a great way to unwind after a long day of school. But YouTube isn't just about entertainment for me. It's also super helpful for my studies. Say I'm stuck on a math problem, or I can't quite grasp a concept in science. There's almost always a video that breaks it down and makes it way easier to understand. Plus, there are tons of study tips and revision videos which are really useful during exam season. I think one of the best parts about YouTube is how interactive it is. I can leave comments, share videos with friends, or even make my own playlists of my favorite clips. It's not just about watching videos. It feels more like being part of a community. That interaction really makes it more enjoyable. Honestly, YouTube has become such a big part of my daily life. It's where I go to relax and learn. Whether I'm in the mood for something light like a music video or need a quick tutorial on something school-related, YouTube has got it all. It's just incredibly handy and definitely a website I can't imagine going a day without visiting.
Describe a person who often buy at the street market at cheaper price. You should say who this person is, what this person likes to buy, where this person likes to buy things, and explain why this person likes cheap goods.
All right. I'd like to talk about my mom, who's a bit of a pro when it comes to shopping at local street markets. She has a knack for finding the best deals on everything from groceries to clothes. And what does she love to purchase? It's the essentials like fresh fruits and veggies, which are always cheaper there than in big grocery stores. Apart from that, she often picks up household items, and every now and then, she'll buy some unique handmade clothes. She loves those because they're not something you'd find in your typical retail shop. As for her favorite shopping spots, she frequents a couple of open-air markets that are just a few blocks from our home. These aren't your average markets. They're lively, packed with people, and you can feel the energy as soon as you step in. Vendors shouting their offers, the smell of fresh produce. It's all part of the experience. I think my mom sticks to these budget-friendly places simply because she's all about getting value for money. She always says, "Why pay more when you can get the same quality for less?" She's pretty good at bargaining too, and sees it almost like a game where both sides leave happy. Also, she really believes that shopping at these markets supports local farmers and small business owners, which is something she's passionate about. And it's not just about the savings. My mom loves the social aspect of it too, chatting with the vendors, who she knows quite well by now, catching up with them each week, asking about their families. It's like a little community. It's just amazing how she turns a simple shopping run into an adventure and how she manages to save while still bringing home everything we need.
Describe a vehicle you would like to buy. You should say what kind of vehicle, why you would like to have it, how you would get it, and explain why you would prefer this means of transport.
Well, the vehicle I've got my heart set on is a compact car, like a Toyota Prius, Kia Forte, or something similar. The main reason I'm drawn to this type of car is that it's just so convenient for city living. It's kind of small, which means I can squeeze into pretty much any parking spot I find. And that's a huge plus in a crowded city like Saigon. Now, about acquiring one of these cars, I'd prefer to go through an official dealership. This approach feels more secure because they offer comprehensive warranties and conduct thorough inspections on their vehicles before selling them. Also, dealerships provide financing options. This means I could choose to pay in installments, spreading out the financial impact rather than having a huge amount of money up front. As for why I prefer these models, besides their compact size, it's their fuel efficiency that really stands out. I mean, with gas prices as high as they are, having a car that's good on mileage can really save a lot of money in the long run. And this is not just good for my wallet, but also better for the environment since these cars tend to have lower emissions compared to bigger vehicles. Besides, driving a smaller car feels, I don't know, less overwhelming than maneuvering a big SUV, especially in heavy traffic. So yeah, overall, opting for this kind of transport seems like a sensible choice for my everyday needs. It's cost-effective, not too bulky, and honestly, it just makes life easier when I'm zipping around town for errands or meeting up with friends.
Describe a time when you got lost. You should say when and where it happened, who was there with you, how you felt when you got lost, and explain how you eventually found your way.
I'll never forget this one time during a summer trip to Da Nang when my friends and I completely lost our bearings. It was quite the adventure, actually. We were all on motorbikes, just cruising around to explore the city's sights and sounds. It was mid-afternoon, and the bustling streets were teeming with locals and tourists alike. Initially, everything was going smoothly. But then, we decided to take a detour off the main road to see some lesser-known spots that one of my friends had read about online. That's when things got tricky. The further we went, the more unfamiliar the surroundings became. Eventually, it hit us. We had no idea where we were. The feeling of being lost was a mix of excitement and, admittedly, a bit of anxiety. There we were, a group of 5, in the middle of a place none of us knew, with our phones struggling to catch a signal. We laughed about it at first, trying to see the funny side, but as time ticked on, we really started to feel the stress. So, how did we find our way back? Well, it was quite simple and a bit old school. We asked for directions. We pulled over at a small cafe and asked the cafe owner for his help. He was incredibly helpful, showing us the way to get back to the main road we had strayed from. After thanking him profusely, we followed his directions, and sure enough, after about 20 minutes of riding, we recognized landmarks and the layout of the streets. It was a huge relief to see familiar territory again. Reflecting on it, getting lost was unnerving, but it turned out to be a memorable part of our trip. It taught us to appreciate the help of strangers and reminded us that sometimes you have to lose your way to find new experiences.
Describe a new law that you want to implement in your country. You should say what law it is, what changes this law has, whether this new law will be popular, and explain how you came up with the idea of this law.
Well, if I had the chance to introduce a rule in Vietnam, I'd definitely go for one that targets littering. You know, it really bothers me how some streets and parks are just covered in trash. So, I'd propose a strict penalty for anyone caught throwing garbage in public places. Instead of just telling people not to do it, there'd be a hefty fine to really make them think twice. This regulation would work by setting up fines that are big enough to deter people from littering. For instance, tossing a small piece of paper might land you a fine, but throwing away something larger, like a soda can, would result in an even higher penalty. I think the key here is to make the consequences tough enough to encourage people to keep their trash until they can dispose of it properly. Now, about whether this law would be welcomed, I guess it might not be popular at first. People generally don't like being told what to do, especially if it hits their wallet. But over time, I believe attitudes would change. As places start looking cleaner and more inviting, I think people would start seeing the benefits. The idea for this rule came to me during a visit to Singapore. It's amazing how clean it is there. They have similar laws and it works wonders. I thought to myself, why not try something like this back home? It could really help improve the environment and make our public spaces more pleasant for everyone. So yeah, that's the law I'd love to see in place.
Describe a time when you moved to a new school. You should say when it was, why you moved to a new school, how old you were then, and explain how you felt about it.
I remember quite clearly the period when my family relocated from Binh Thanh district to Thu Duc in Ho Chi Minh City, so I had to move to a new primary school there. I was about 9 years old at that time, so the whole experience was quite a big deal for me. The main reason we moved was that my parents got new jobs closer to Thu Duc, and commuting from our old place started to become really impractical. Adjusting to a new primary school was initially tough. I mean, everything was different, from the teachers and the school environment to the classmates. On my first day, I felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. There was this buzz of meeting new friends, but at the same time, a bit of anxiety about fitting in. The school itself was larger than my previous one, with more students and a wider range of activities. During the first few weeks, I remember feeling a bit overwhelmed. However, the teachers were really supportive, and they played a huge part in helping me adjust. They were very understanding and always ready to help whenever I felt lost or confused. Gradually, I started making friends. We would spend time during breaks and after school, playing soccer or sharing stories, which made me feel more at home. What helped a lot was joining the school's karate club. It was a great outlet for me to express myself and bond with classmates who had similar interests. Looking back, although the move was challenging, it was also a time of growth. I learned a lot about adapting to new situations and the importance of being open to change. It definitely shaped me into who I am today, more resilient and open to meeting new people and experiencing new things.
Describe an occasion when you wore your best clothes. You should say what this occasion was, what clothes you wore, why you chose to wear these clothes, and explain how you felt about wearing your best clothes.
Well, there was this really special day, my sister's wedding. This wasn't just any family gathering. It was a major event. And that's when I decided to pull out all the stops and put on my finest outfit, a classic black tuxedo. You know, the kind with a white dress shirt and a sleek black bow tie. To round it off, I chose shiny black patent leather shoes because, let's face it, it's not every day you get to dress up like that. The reason I picked this particular set of clothes was pretty straightforward. Firstly, it's kind of a tradition. At weddings, especially one as important as your sister's, you're expected to dress formally. It shows respect for the event and adds to the celebratory atmosphere. Also, I think a tuxedo never fails to make a statement. It's timeless and classy, and wearing it made me feel like an integral part of the ceremony. And it was my way of showing my sister how much her big day meant to me. Honestly, dressing up in my best formal clothes gave me a mix of feelings. There was a surge of confidence that came with wearing such a refined outfit. I found myself walking taller, greeting guests with more assurance. It's amazing how your outfit can boost your self-esteem. But not gonna lie, it was a bit nerve-wracking too. You're always worried about keeping everything perfect. No wrinkles, no stains. Despite that, the overall experience was fantastic. That day, wearing my best clothes wasn't just about appearances. It was about embracing the joy and significance of the occasion, which made me appreciate every minute of it.
Describe a happy childhood memory. You should say when and where the incident you remember happened, who you were with, what happened exactly, and explain why it is a happy memory.
I vividly remember this one day back in 5th grade that always brings a smile to my face whenever I think about it. It was just a regular school day. I had just gotten off the school bus and was about to head up to my classroom. As I set foot on the first step of the staircase, suddenly, I hear someone yelling my name from above. I looked up and saw a bunch of my friends leaning over the railing on the 3rd floor, waving frantically. They were all shouting and gesturing for me to come up quickly. At first, I thought something was wrong, but then, through the noise, I heard, "We won! You got the 2nd prize!" It turned out they had just announced the results of the citywide math championship that we'd participated in. Honestly, I was shocked. We had all worked really hard, but I didn't expect to do so well. It was such a rush, you know? Running up those stairs 2 steps at a time, my heart was pounding not just from the sprint, but also from the excitement. When I finally reached them, we all started jumping around and high-fiving. It was just pure joy. The reason this memory is so precious to me is multifold. First off, it was one of my earliest achievements, something that made me realize I could actually excel at something if I put my mind to it. Plus, celebrating this moment with my friends made it all the more special. We had spent weeks preparing together, and seeing our collective effort pay off was just rewarding. Even though I moved away and we've lost touch over the years, the memory of that day is something that I'll always treasure. It was more than just winning a prize. It was about friendship, teamwork, and one of the first big accomplishments of my young life.
Describe a future plan which is not related to work or study. You should say what the plan is, when you thought of the plan, who is involved in the plan, and say how you think you will achieve the plan.
One of my upcoming projects, which is separate from my career or education, is to launch an online shop on Shopee. The the leading e-commerce site in Vietnam. This idea has been on my mind for a while, but it really began to come together about 6 months ago. The whole plan actually involves a couple of my friends. One of them is really good at marketing, and the other is great at handling finances. I'm going to take care of sourcing products and managing the store. We're planning to sell handmade crafts and eco-friendly products since there's a growing demand for such items. To make this happen, well, first of all, I'm going to do a lot of research. I need to understand the market, identify the right products, and figure out how to price them competitively. Furthermore, we're going to set up a small workshop where we can create our handmade items. Then, we'll need to open a seller account on Shopee and list our products. We'll use social media and Shopee's promotional tools to attract customers. My friend who's into marketing will handle the online promotions, creating eye-catching advertisements and engaging content. Meanwhile, my other friend will keep track of our finances, ensuring we stay profitable. To ensure our success, we're also planning to start small and gradually expand. By keeping our initial investment low and focusing on high-quality products and excellent customer service, I believe we can build a solid reputation and grow our business over time. In short, I think this plan will work because we have a clear strategy, complementary skills, and a passion for what we're doing. It's going to be a lot of work, but I'm confident that, with determination and teamwork, we can do it.
Describe an interesting place in your country that not many people visit. You should say where the place is, how you got to know about this place, why only very few people visit there, and explain how you feel about this place.
One fascinating place in my country that doesn't get a lot of attention is Van Long Wetland Nature Reserve in Ninh Binh. It's this hidden gem that most tourists seem to miss, which is quite a shame. I first heard about Van Long from a friend who's an avid traveler. He was raving about it after his trip, so I got curious and decided to check it out myself. The place isn't widely known because it's overshadowed by more famous spots like Ha Long Bay and Trang An. Plus, it's a bit off the beaten path, so unless you're really looking for it, you might not stumble upon it. Getting to Van Long isn't too hard, though. I took a train to Ninh Binh and then a short bus ride to the reserve. It's actually quite accessible if you know where you're going. Despite this, few people visit, which might be due to the lack of advertising and the fact that it's not on the typical tourist route. As for how I feel about Van Long, oh, I absolutely love it. The reserve is incredibly serene and peaceful. You can take a boat ride through the wetlands and see a variety of wildlife, including the endangered Delacour's langur, which is really special. The limestone karst and lush greenery make for stunning scenery. It's a perfect spot to escape the hustle and bustle of the city and just relax in nature. Again, I think Van Long Wetland Nature Reserve is an underrated paradise. It offers tranquility and natural beauty that you can't easily find elsewhere. It's definitely worth a visit if you're looking for something unique and off the tourist radar.
Describe a person who encouraged and helped you achieve a goal. You should say who this person is, what this person encouraged you to do, how this person has helped you, and explain why their encouragement helped you achieve the goal.
One person who has been incredibly supportive as I pursued a professional qualification was my boyfriend. He played a crucial role in my journey towards earning the Project Management Professional, or PMP, certification. His encouragement was one of the key reasons I was able to navigate through the challenges of this rigorous process. What he did was, firstly, push me to sign up for the PMP exam. I had been hesitant about it for ages, thinking maybe it was too tough or maybe I wasn't ready. But he was always there, reassuring me, reminding me of my capabilities, and saying that I'd regret it if I didn't go for it. And beyond just words, his support was immensely practical. He took on more chores at home, freed up my weekends by handling our social commitments, and constantly supplied me with endless cups of coffee during my late-night study sessions. Moreover, his approach to helping was not just about taking things off my plate. He also inspired me with his own work ethic. Seeing him tackle his responsibilities so diligently motivated me to keep up with my study schedule. It was this kind of moral support that really made the difference because it kept me grounded and focused, reminding me that this goal was not only attainable, but worth the effort. His belief in me fundamentally changed my self-perception during this time. It transformed the way I approached challenges and made me more resilient. Because of his encouragement and practical support, I not only passed the exam, but also gained a deeper confidence in my professional abilities. So, looking back, I can honestly say that achieving this certification was partly his victory too. His unwavering support and belief in my potential were what propelled me across the finish line.
Describe an advertisement you have seen, but you did not like. You should say where and when you saw it, what the advertisement was for, what you could see in the advertisement, and explain why you did not like the advertisement.
An advertisement I saw recently that really got on my nerves was for a bottled honey tea called Tea-cha. I remember seeing it for the first time about a month ago while watching YouTube videos. This particular commercial featured a well-known rapper, who I suppose is quite popular among the younger crowd. In the commercial, you could see the rapper performing a lively rap about the tea, accompanied by really loud music. The visuals were quite vibrant, showing various people enjoying the drink in different settings. However, the main focus was always on the rapper and his energetic performance. Now, let me explain why I found this ad so unappealing. First, the music was just too loud and overwhelming. I enjoy music, but this was on another level. It felt like it was shouting at me rather than trying to communicate anything meaningful. Also, I found the lyrics of the rap rather annoying. They were repetitive and lacked any real substance, making it hard for me to take the product seriously. But that wasn't the worst part. What really drove me crazy was the frequency with which this advertisement appeared on YouTube. Almost every time I clicked on a new video, there it was again, playing the same loud music and repetitive lyrics. It got to the point where I started associating negative feelings with the brand itself, simply because of the overexposure. While I do understand that advertisements need to be eye-catching and memorable, this one missed the mark for me. The excessive noise, uninteresting lyrics, and constant repetition made it more of an irritant than an effective promotional tool.
Describe an important plant that grows in your country. You should say what it is, where you see it, what it looks like, and explain why it is important.
A plant that's really significant in my country is the lychee tree. Lychee is a tropical fruit that's highly cherished here in Vietnam. You mostly find lychee trees in the northern regions, especially in Bac Giang province. They grow well there because of the ideal climate and soil conditions. The trees aren't particularly tall, but they have dense, shiny, dark green leaves. In the blooming season, the trees are adorned with small, fragrant white to greenish yellow flowers, which eventually turn into lychees. The fruit itself is small, round, and covered in a rough, reddish skin. When you peel off the skin, you discover this juicy, translucent flesh that's sweet and slightly tangy. Lychee plays a significant role in our agriculture and economy. Many farmers rely on the income from lychee sales, especially during the harvest season. The fruit is not only sold locally, but also exported to various countries, which boosts the local economy. During festive seasons, lychees are also often exchanged as gifts, symbolizing prosperity and good fortune, and this cultural significance adds to their value in our society. I believe that the lychee tree is more than just a plant in my country. The economic benefits and cultural significance make the lychee tree an important and beloved plant in my country.
Describe an enjoyable journey by public transport. You should say where you went, who you were with, what you did, and how you felt about it.
Last summer, I went on a holiday to Thailand with a bunch of friends, and one of the highlights was our journey to the Siam Center shopping center in Bangkok. So, to get to the Siam Center, we decided to take the Sky Train, which is Bangkok's elevated rapid transit system. It's super convenient and a great way to avoid the city's notorious traffic. I was with 3 of my closest friends, and we were all pretty excited because it was our first time using this kind of transport. First off, we got on the Sky Train at the station near our hotel. The whole process was pretty smooth and straightforward, which was a pleasant surprise. As we traveled, we enjoyed the scenic views of the city from up high. The skyscrapers, the bustling streets below, and the vibrant cityscape all around were just amazing to see. I couldn't help but compare it to my experiences with public transport in New York City, which, honestly, are way worse. Once we reached Siam Station, we made our way to the Siam Center. We spent the day exploring the numerous shops, indulging in some delicious Thai street food, and just soaking in the lively atmosphere. We even watched a movie at the cinema there, which was a fun break from shopping. I felt really happy about the whole experience. Taking the SkyTrain made the journey stress-free and enjoyable, and it gave us a chance to see Bangkok from a different perspective. Plus, being with friends and sharing those moments together made it even more special. So yeah, it's definitely a trip I'll remember fondly.
Describe a person who you are happy to know. You should say who this person is, how long you have known this person, what you do when you're with this person, and explain why you are happy to know this person.
Well, thinking about someone I'm genuinely glad to have met, I'd like to talk about my high school physics teacher, Mr. Tung. I've known him for about 5 years now, since I was in the 10th grade. Even though I graduated, we've kept in touch. When I was in school, I spent quite a bit of time with him, not just during classes, but also in after-school sessions. He used to run this science club on Thursday afternoons where we'd get together and work on different projects and experiments. It was all about applying what we learned in class to real-life situations, which was pretty cool. I'm so happy to have met Mr. Tung, as he has this knack for making complex subjects very understandable and, even more importantly, interesting. He always related the concepts to everyday phenomena, so you could see physics in action all around you. This approach really demystified a lot of the subject for me, and honestly sparked a passion for science that I didn't know I had. Besides his teaching style, Mr. Tung was incredibly supportive. I remember struggling with preparing for my finals, and he went out of his way to give me extra help, ensuring I grasped everything. It wasn't just about passing the exam. He wanted to make sure I actually understood the material. And it's not just the academic side of things. Mr. Tung genuinely cares about his students. He's someone who encouraged us to pursue our interests, no matter how challenging. That kind of belief in someone can really boost your confidence. So, yeah, having him as a teacher and mentor has been invaluable. His influence definitely played a big part in my decision to study engineering in college.
Describe a new development in the area where you live, for example, shopping mall, park, etc. You should say what the development is, when, where you noticed it, how long it took to complete it, and explain how you feel about it.
The other day, while wandering through the newly transformed riverside area of Thu Thiem in Ho Chi Minh City, I stumbled upon a brand new recreational spot, Thu Thiem Riverside Park. And let me tell you, it's completely transformed the place. Before, that area was just a stretch of unused land. But now, it's this vibrant park full of life. As far as I know, the whole project took roughly 2 years to wrap up. I remember seeing the construction barriers up for what seemed like forever, and there was always some activity going on every time I passed by. They really did a thorough job on it. So this park, It's not just your regular patch of grass and playground. They've laid out these beautiful paths that curve along the river, perfect for biking or jogging. And there are these cozy spots scattered around where you can throw down a blanket, have a picnic, or just sit and watch the river flow by. It's become a hot spot for families and anyone looking to unwind a bit from the city hustle. Personally, I feel quite positive about this change. It feels like we've gained an entirely new space where you can just breathe and take a break. Plus, I think it's going to be great for the neighborhood, bringing in more visitors and maybe even boosting our local businesses. It's a fresh breath for everyone around, showing that our city is putting real effort into making our living environment better and greener.
Describe a song that you remember from your childhood. You should say what song it is, when you heard it, who sang this song to you, and explain why you still remember this song.
I'd love to talk about a melody from my younger days, The Little Stork. It's a Vietnamese song that pretty much every kid from my generation knows. I think this song was something of a childhood anthem for many kids in Vietnam. I first came across this tune way back when I was really young, probably around 4 or 5. My mom used to sing it to me quite often. It's a lovely little song in Vietnamese, and she had this sweet way of singing it that made even the simplest words feel special. This song, The Little Stork, it's got this catchy, simple melody, but it's the lyrics and the way my mom sang them that made it stick. The lyrics tells the story of this little stork sitting on a bamboo branch, and they use its adventures to teach kids how to act right. And there's this gentle vibe about it that just made me feel, I don't know, peaceful and happy. It was like her way of calming me down or cheering me up, depending on the day. Now, looking back, I think one of the reasons why this song is still so memorable to me is that it connects me to my roots. It's a piece of my childhood, a reminder of those simpler, carefree days. It became a part of so many moments. Like, my mom would sing it when she was doing something around the house or during bedtime to help me sleep. It kind of became our little song, something that was just ours. It's more than just a tune, it's a memory, and those don't fade away easily.
Describe the place where you took photos more than once. You should say what the place is, how often you take photos there, what you photograph there, and explain why you like to take photos there.
The place I'm going to talk about is Cheese Coffee, specifically the branch we often go to in District 1 of Ho Chi Minh City. My friends and I have made it our favorite spot, and honestly, I've taken photos there more times than I can count. When it comes to what I photograph there, it varies. The main attractions are definitely the drinks, especially their signature tangerine tea, my all-time favorite. It's not only delicious, but also looks amazing, with vibrant colors that really pop in photos. I also love capturing the other beautifully crafted beverages they serve. Each one is like a little piece of art. And of course, no trip to Cheese Coffee is complete without a bunch of selfies with my friends. We always try to get creative, using different angles or capturing candid laughs, which makes each visit memorable. The reason I love taking pictures at this particular Cheese Coffee branch is all about the atmosphere and how it feels like a little escape in the middle of the city. Every time you go, there's a different vibe depending on the time of day or the season. Morning light makes the place look all fresh and vibrant, which is perfect for those drink shots. In the evenings, it's all cozy, with soft lighting, which I think is great for chilled-out selfies with friends. Gradually, taking photos at Cheese Coffee is more than just capturing images. This place has become a part of my life. It feels like every picture tells a part of our story, our friendship, hanging out, sipping on something delicious, and just enjoying the city life together. That's why I keep going back, and why my phone's photo album is packed with snapshots from there.
Describe an invention that is useful in your daily life. You should say what the invention was, what it can do, how popular it is, and explain whether it is difficult or easy to use.
I'd love to talk about the Apple Watch, which has become quite a handy gadget in my everyday routine. Essentially, this is a digital smartwatch that does a lot more than just tell the time. It allows you to make calls, send messages, track your health and fitness activities, and even control smart appliances in your home. As for how popular it is, well, I'm confident that they are everywhere. They're pretty common these days, not just among young folks or tech enthusiasts, but really with anyone interested in staying fit or just being more in tune with their health. You see them just as much in professional settings as you do in gyms or casual hangouts. Using it is super easy in my opinion, which is one of the best parts. It pairs seamlessly with an iPhone, making it incredibly intuitive. You can customize what notifications you want to receive, change the watch face to suit your style or mood, and access a whole suite of apps with just a few taps. And if your hands are full, just say, "Hey Siri," and ask whatever you need, setting reminders, getting directions, you name it. Honestly, the ease and functionality of it are what make it so integral to my daily routine. Whether I'm trying to stay on top of my meetings, needing a quick weather update, or monitoring my physical activity during a busy day, it's my go-to tool. It feels like having a personal assistant right on my wrist, always keeping me on track and even encouraging me to move a little more or take a minute to breathe when things get hectic. And I've come to rely on it a lot more than I initially thought I would.
Describe a place not in your home where you go to relax. You should say where the place is, what the place looks like, how you spend your time in this place, and explain why this place helps you to relax.
One of my absolute favorite places to unwind and escape from the usual chaos is the General Sciences Library in Ho Chi Minh City. Now, this isn't just any ordinary library. It's not just any library. It's kind of a peaceful sanctuary right in the middle of the city's buzz. Now, about the library. It's this grand old building surrounded by lush gardens. Inside, it's quite expansive with high ceilings and rows upon rows of bookshelves filled with every kind of book you can imagine. My favorite spot is this cozy corner with huge windows that flood the area with natural light and offer a pretty stunning view of the garden. When I hang out there, I usually tuck myself into one of the big, soft chairs with a good book. Could be fiction, could be a bit of history, just depends on the mood. Sometimes, though, I just sit by the window and people watch or let my mind wander, maybe scribble some thoughts down in my journal. It's the perfect spot for some alone time, or to really focus on my studies without anyone bugging me. What really makes this library a perfect relaxation spot for me is the overall atmosphere. There's this sort of unspoken rule that this is a place for peace and quiet, which really helps you forget your troubles for a bit. Being surrounded by books, it kind of feels like I'm in a safe bubble, away from the chaos of daily life. So, whenever I need a break or some space to think, that's where I head. It's like my little retreat where I can recharge and get back to my best.
Describe a historical building in Vietnam. You should say where that building is, what the building looks like, what the building is used for, and also say whether you like this building or not.
All right, so I'd like to talk about the Saigon Central Post Office, which is a really famous historical building situated right in the heart of Saigon. This place is really iconic and pretty much a must-see for anyone who visits the city. Now, about what this building looks like, it's absolutely stunning. The architecture is a fascinating blend of Gothic, Renaissance, and French colonial styles, making it quite unique. The outside is painted a light yellow, which gives it a warm and welcoming feel. The structure is grand, with a huge clock and intricate ironwork on the facade. When you walk inside, you'll see this massive, open hall with high vaulted ceilings and beautiful, detailed designs all over. There's also a giant portrait of Ho Chi Minh at the end of the hall, which really adds to the historical atmosphere. The building is still a functioning post office, which is pretty cool considering how old it is. Besides postal services, Where you can send mail and parcels, it also offers a range of other things for tourists. You can buy souvenirs, send postcards, and there are even these old-school wooden phone booths and vintage maps on the walls, which are really charming. Personally, I have to say I really like this building. Not only is it a beautiful piece of architecture, but it's also full of history. Every time I visit, I feel like I'm taking a step back in time. Plus, the atmosphere inside is always bustling with both locals and tourists, which makes it feel very alive and part of the community. I also love that it's in the city center, so it's really easy to visit.
Describe a useful skill that you learned when you were a teenager. You should say what it is, when you learned it, who you learned it from, and explain how you feel about this skill.
One of the most valuable skills I picked up during my teenage years was designing informative yet visually appealing Google Slides. I first got the hang of it when I was about 15, around the time I entered high school. It was during a group project for my history class. My teacher, Miss Trang, assigned us a project on World War II, and we had to present our findings to the entire class. Initially, I didn't have a clue about making slides that looked good and conveyed information effectively. I was quite overwhelmed. Fortunately, one of my friends, Nam, who was tech-savvy, guided me through the process. He showed me how to use different features of Google Slides, like inserting images, using themes, and adding animations to make our presentation more engaging. At first, it was a bit challenging to balance aesthetics with content. However, with practice and a lot of trial and error, I started to get the hang of it. I learned how to create a cohesive flow of information, use bullet points effectively, and choose colors and fonts that were easy on the eyes. Looking back, I feel incredibly proud of this skill. Not only did it help me score well on that history project, but it also became something I relied on throughout high school and even now in university. Every time I have to present something, I feel confident knowing that I can make slides that are both informative and aesthetically pleasing. It's a skill that has definitely given me an edge, and I'm really grateful to have learned it when I did.
Describe a famous person that is a role model for young people. You should say who he or she is, how you knew him or her, what he or she has done, and explain why he or she can be a role model for young people.
All right, I'd like to talk about Jensen Huang, the CEO and co-founder of NVIDIA, who I think is a fantastic role model for young people today. I first heard about him a few years ago when I was getting into computer science and gaming. NVIDIA's graphics cards are really popular among gamers and tech enthusiasts, so his name kept popping up. Jensen Huang has done some pretty amazing things in his career. He started NVIDIA in 1993, and since then, the company has become a leader in the tech industry, especially in graphics processing units, or GPUs. These GPUs are not only used for gaming, but also for scientific research, artificial intelligence, and even self-driving cars. But what really makes him stand out as a role model, in my opinion, is his perseverance and innovative spirit. When he started NVIDIA, it was a small company, and the tech landscape was very different from what it is now. He faced numerous challenges, yet he never gave up. His ability to foresee the potential of GPU technology and steer his company in the right direction shows incredible vision and leadership. Also, Jensen Huang is known for being down-to-earth and approachable, which is pretty rare among top executives. He often shares his knowledge and experience with young entrepreneurs and students, encouraging them to pursue their dreams and not be afraid of failure. From what I see, Jensen Huang's story is pretty amazing when you think about it. Starting from a small company and turning it into a huge tech leader is no small feat. And the fact that he stays humble and focused on innovation just adds to his appeal. He really shows that with the right mindset, you can achieve big things and make a real difference.
Describe a time when you had a problem with using the computer. You should say when it happened, where it happened, what the problem was, and explain how you solved the problem at last.
A couple of years ago, during my college finals, I encountered a frustrating issue with my laptop. It was a particularly stressful period, and I was in my dorm room, working late into the night to finish an important assignment due the next morning. Everything was going smoothly until I decided to update my Windows operating system, thinking it would be quick and easy. However, immediately after the update, my laptop crashed. The screen went black, and no matter what I did, it wouldn't boot up. Naturally, I panicked. I had spent hours working on that assignment, and now it seemed like all my effort was going down the drain. I tried a few basic troubleshooting steps like restarting the laptop, but nothing worked. At this point, I was really stressed out because the deadline was looming. Then, I remembered a trick my tech-savvy friend had taught me. I booted the laptop in safe mode, which, thankfully, worked. From there, I was able to access the system recovery options. I decided to roll back the update, hoping it would solve the issue. To my immense relief, it did. The laptop restarted, and everything was back to normal. With my laptop up and running again, I quickly backed up my assignment to a USB drive, my Google Drive, and emailed a copy to myself just in case. I worked through the night to complete the assignment and managed to submit it on time. So that was my little tech nightmare. It taught me a valuable lesson about not updating my OS right before a deadline and always backing up my work.
Describe a book you like to read in your childhood. You should say who wrote this book, what it is about, when you read it, and explain why you liked it.
One of my favorite books from childhood is Diary of a Cricket by To. This delightful tale is about the adventures of a young cricket who leaves his cozy home in a rice field to explore the wider world. The story is both charming and insightful, following the cricket as he encounters various animals, each with their own lessons and wisdom to impart. I first read this book when I was about 8 years old. I remember it vividly because it was a gift from my sister for my birthday. At that time, I was really into stories about animals, so this book was right up my alley. It didn't take long for me to get completely absorbed in the cricket's journey. There are several reasons why I was particularly fond of this book. For one, the writing style of To is incredibly engaging. He has a way of describing scenes and characters that makes them come alive in your mind. Moreover, the story is full of valuable life lessons. Through the cricket's interactions, I learned about friendship, bravery, and the importance of being true to oneself. The book also sparked my imagination and nurtured my love for nature. In fact, it inspired me to start my own little garden, where I would observe insects and try to understand their behavior, just like the cricket in the story. So yeah, Diary of a Cricket isn't just a book for me. It's a cherished childhood memory that has shaped my interests and values. It's a classic that, in my opinion, every child should read.
Describe a party that you enjoyed. You should say when you went to the party, where the party was held, what kind of party it was, and explain why you enjoyed this party.
I want to share about an incredible party I went to at the end of last year. It was our company's annual year-end bash, held in mid-January, just before we started our Tet holiday celebrations. The event took place in this really stylish hotel ballroom right in the city center, which was quite convenient for everyone to get to. We all got to dress up in our fanciest outfits, which was a nice change from the usual office attire. There was this incredible buffet with all kinds of delicious food, everything from sushi to roast beef, and plenty of drinks to go around. The evening started with a formal dinner, and then we moved on to the fun stuff like dancing and live music. One of the best parts of the night, in my opinion, was the awards ceremony. Our management team took the time to recognize a bunch of employees for their hard work over the year. It was really inspiring to see my colleagues being appreciated, and it gave me a sense of pride to be part of such a supportive team. One of my closest friends at work even won an award, and I was so happy for him. What really made the night special, though, was the atmosphere. It was so relaxed and fun, a complete contrast to our usual busy workdays. We had a chance to chat, laugh, and just enjoy each other's company outside of the office setting. There was this moment when we were all on the dance floor, just letting loose and having a great time. By the end of the night, I felt like we had all bonded so much more. It was just a fantastic way to wrap up the year, celebrate our achievements, and look forward to the next year.
Describe a person who thinks music is important and enjoys music. You should say, who is this person? How have you known him or her? What music does he or she like? Why does he or she think music is important? Explain how you feel about him or her.
So, let me tell you about my high school friend Trung. He's currently studying business administration at college, but music has always been his true passion. We actually met when I was organizing a school event, and his band was performing. I remember being blown away by their performance and ended up chatting with him afterward. We've been close friends ever since. Trung is really into indie rock and alternative music. Bands like Radiohead and Arctic Monkeys are his favorites. He's always telling me how much he loves the raw and genuine emotions in their lyrics and how their unique sound is so different from the typical mainstream music. I've seen him get lost in those songs, and it's pretty cool to watch. One thing that really stands out about Trung is how much he believes in the power of music. He thinks music is this kind of universal language that can express emotions and ideas way better than words alone. He once told me that creating music helps him understand himself better and deal with life's ups and downs. I really admire Trung for his dedication. Even with his busy schedule at college, he always makes time for music. And it's just impressive how he balances his demanding studies with his passion for music. When I listen to the songs he's written, I can feel a deep connection to his thoughts and emotions. It's amazing how his music makes me appreciate its power even more, especially knowing it comes from a close friend. Honestly, having Trung as a friend has shown me how important it is to stay true to what you love, no matter how busy life gets. His passion for music is truly infectious, and I'm grateful to have someone like him in my life.
Describe a family photograph you remember. You should say when it was taken, who was or were in the picture, what it reminds you, and explain why you remember this family photograph.
So, there's this photograph from my sister's wedding that I always remember vividly. It was taken around 3 years ago on a really beautiful summer afternoon. The wedding took place in a charming garden, and this particular photo was taken right after the ceremony ended. In the photo, you can see my whole family. My parents are on the left side, both looking so proud and happy. My dad has his arm around my mom, and she's holding this gorgeous bouquet of flowers. Then there's my sister, the bride, right in the center, looking absolutely stunning in her white dress. Next to her is her husband, dressed in a sharp black suit, looking really handsome. And there I am, standing next to my sister with a big grin plastered on my face. My younger brother is beside me, trying to look all cool, but you can see he's really happy too. Every time I look at this photo, it brings back a flood of memories. I remember the laughter, the heartfelt speeches, the dancing, and even the tears of joy. It was such a joyful and emotional day. This photograph really captures that perfect blend of love and happiness. What makes this picture so special for me is that it marks a huge milestone for our family. My sister getting married was a big deal for all of us. Seeing us all together, dressed up and smiling, really shows the strong bond we share. Plus, whenever I see this picture, it instantly takes me back to that moment when we were all so genuinely happy and united. It's a snapshot of a perfect day that I'll always treasure. So yeah, That's the story behind this family photograph. It's not just a picture, it's a beautiful reminder of a wonderful day and the strong connection we all have.
Describe a time you taught something new to a younger person. You should say what you taught, whom you taught it to, why you teach it to this person, and explain how you felt about it.
A couple of years ago, I had the chance to teach my younger cousin, Thao, how to use a film camera. It was quite an interesting experience because, most kids these days are all about digital cameras and smartphones. But Thao, she found my old film camera fascinating. My cousin was around 14 at that time, and she had this curious mind. She came over to my place, and I showed her my vintage camera collection. She was particularly intrigued by a classic Canon AE1. I decided to teach her how to use it, partly because I thought it would be a fun bonding experience, and partly because I wanted her to appreciate the art of traditional photography. First, I explained the basics of loading the film. It's quite different from just popping in a memory card, so it took her a few tries to get it right. Then, I showed her how to adjust the aperture and shutter speed. She was really keen and picked it up pretty quickly. We spent an entire afternoon taking photos around the neighborhood. She was so excited when we developed the film and saw the results. I felt really proud and happy to share this knowledge with her. It reminded me of when I first learned photography from my dad, and seeing her enthusiasm was incredibly rewarding. It was like passing down a piece of family tradition. It also made me realize how important it is to keep these older skills alive, even in a world dominated by digital technology. So yeah, it was a pretty special moment for both of us.